You may be familiar with this plant, and this is called Hoya kerrii. It's otherwise known as sweetheart or Valentine's Hoya, and largely because it's actually grown for its heart-shaped leaf. And you usually can find them around Valentine's Day, and they're stuck kind of in the soil just with one leaf. I've actually never bought one with just one leaf and one like little petiole or part of the stem. And I'm not actually quite sure if those actually form other stems off of it. So if you've bought one of those and you've been growing that particular one, I would love to know, because I've only grown ones with like a little bit more nodes and a little bit more stems, and they can get quite large. If you actually ever have seen these in the wild, and these are kind of native a little bit more to like Thailand and Indonesia and that kind of Southeast Asia area, I've seen them on trees just kind of like engulfing trees. And I can't wait until, you know, mine are large enough in my house in order to be able to grow those too. You could tell they're like super succulent. I have a variegated version here and a non-variegated version. And these are some types of Hoyas that actually do require a little bit more light. So I would say 70 to 90% of full sun is going to be perfect for these particular plants. Although I have to say, I'm growing this one in a little bit more of a gentler light, and I have my variegated version a little bit more in some higher light conditions. So I'm kind of experimenting with you know, what grows better, and I kind of like to do that. I like to get sometimes two different varieties, put them in two different types of lighting, and really get a sense of, you know, how they particularly grow. This one was obviously like shorter when I got it anyway, so this one kind of has a little bit more of a head start. So we'll see if the variegated version actually starts to grow a little bit more now that the growing season is upon us. One of the things that I should just note, and I had mentioned this in one of my Hoya care and propagation videos, but when this gets a flower on, it gets very, I don't even know if nectarous is a word, but it produces like this very thick, dark nectar that can stain your furniture and or anything that's underneath it. So make sure that you don't have it on anything that you cherish a little bit too much, because it will probably end up staining. Although I would say that's the biggest, like, you know, downside to actually growing this particular plant indoors, because otherwise it's a very generous plant, and will actually also flower pretty readily as well. You'll probably notice that I have this growing in a little bit of a barkier, kind of well-draining mix. And again, these are because these plants are epiphytic. They don't like to have their roots soaking in water. So you want something that is super well-draining. They will eventually outgrow their pot, especially because these are such vigorous growers. So these are pretty small pots to kind of begin with. But as these plants start to bush out in my home, I'm going to have to repot these particular ones. I've never had any problems as far as pests go with growing these, and which is a good sign, because these are easy Hoyas to find, especially around, like I said, Valentine's Day. So if you find one, pick one up, and if you find one with a little bit more of a stem, then pick that one up too, because I am curious if like those little heart-shaped leaf ones actually start to just branch out, or if they just grow roots off that leaf and they stay that way kind of forever. So hit me up in the comments, but otherwise, great plant and great Hoya to have in the home.